Hello and welcome to GPTV on Tuesday the 8th of October. My name's Philip Kingston.
And I'm Gary Peer.
And Gary, we've just finished our first Sunday round of auctions with the new daylight saving regime. How much do I love daylight saving?
I love it. I don't know why it's not here all year round. I love it. It's fantastic. You feel like you're on holidays. It's got that summer feeling in the air. And you know, it sort of makes you feel a bit, I don't know, light and frisky.
So here's a question.
Frisky.
Here's a question for Tony Abbott and Dr. Dennis Napthine.
Yeah.
Why don't you just extend daylight saving 365 days a year? It's not that complicated.
And wouldn't they be watching this for sure?
Well, I believe they are, Gary.
Tuned in every week, aren't they?
In fact, Tony Abbott, as we speak, is in Bali at the APEC conference, and I believe that they're showing GPTV at the APEC conference. So,
pretty daughters,
hello, world leaders.
Yeah, he's got pretty daughters, hasn't he?
He has. He has.
I don't know what that's got to do with anything, but I thought I'd mention it. Let's talk about the real estate market. In the paper, Philip, they're talking about prices going up and 10% extra, and why are people paying too much for real estate? All of that. Did you read those articles?
I didn't read any of
Catherine
those articles.
Cashmore's got comments. She's lovely.
I was too busy, Gary, out there auctioning property after property after property on Sunday.
You were.
I did 5 auctions on Sunday.
And lo and behold, Philip Kingston, damn it, sold them all.
Clean sweep. Clean sweep. 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, and they all sold and all sold for really good prices. And speaking of really good prices,
and you've still got energy because you're like a bull. A bull. It's full of bull.
If you're interested in the secret to all my energy and what I'm taking, just send me an email to philipk@garypeer.com.au.
Special brews.
And I will let you know what I'm taking.
Legal.
Let me tell you about an auction I did on Sunday, Gary, because this was at number 2A Oak Crescent.
We're out of order here, aren't we?
I know, completely out of order. 2A Oak Crescent in Caulfield North. Now, this was on the market with another agent 18 months ago.
Don't be cruel to them.
No, they're a good agency, and this is more about timing than it is necessarily about us. But they had the property on the market 18 months ago, and were asking 975, and I believe the vendor at that time would have taken something around 900,000. No activity, no offers on it. Apparently, we put it to the market on Sunday. We had 6 people bidding. Now, this is the real
litmus test.
Cut through. Now, this is a cut through comment on GPTV. Cut through as to how we identify a boom market over a normal market. I think a boom market, Gary, is when you've got more than 3 people bidding at an auction.
You don't have them at every auction.
No, we don't.
Stop talking it up.
This was a boom auction because we had 6
people
bidding.
It's not a boom market.
We had a reserve there, Gary, of $950,000.
We did.
6 people took it through to $1,108,000, almost $160,000 over the reserve. That's in excess of 15% over the reserve. Absolutely amazing.
Let's talk a little bit about some of Saturday's auctions.
Before we do that, Gary, I'm just going to interrupt you again because being GPTV cut-through style leaders as we are,
I've got no idea what he's doing.
I just want the viewers to know that my latest suit, I am determined to bring back double-breasted suits. Now, they were big in fashion 10 to 15 years ago, Gary. No one's been wearing them, but they have re-emerged, and I, Gary, this morning am wearing a double-breasted navy blue suit. Navy blue is always in fashion, but double breast is back. You heard it first on GPTV. Big announcement.
And you heard second. No one cares. Okay, let's talk about the weekend. Let's talk about real estate, Phil, instead of your suits and your fashion. It's just too preoccupied.
Well, it's the spring carnival, Gary, and I'm just trying to work out what to wear.
You're frisky, aren't you? Frisky. Let's talk about Saturday's auction in Redan Road, Phil, because I did that auction, and I got to tell you, Phil, we had 7 bidders, and it went bang, way over reserve, 15% over reserve, but unfortunately, the buyer has called me and said, Gary, undisclosed.
Well, funny thing about that buyer, the price might be undisclosed and so is his name, but it's a really interesting story because he is a developer and a really good developer.
A fine developer.
He was telling me, because I saw him on Sunday at 2:30 at Omar Street, we'll talk about that later, but he was talking about the fact that he did a development in Redan.
Yes, a long time
ago, virtually across the road.
25 years
ago. And for him, it's like coming home. 25 years later, he's developing across the road.
6 at 6 Rigby Avenue, Philip, was sold by Leo Samuel, I believe. That sold for $411,000 against a reserve of $400,000. That was also on Saturday. And Sunday we opened with your out of order auction result that you wanted to already talk about, even though it should have been now. And that was 2A Oak Crescent. Great result, well done. I hopped up to Acton Street, Phil, hobnobbed it up there with all the Acton Street crowd. and saw Lior beautifully pass in an auction at $500,000, which I thought was great buying. It's still available, so come and have a look at that one. One at 26A, Ackland Street.
Speaking of passing in auctions,
Yes.
I've got to tell you and the viewers about this auction experience I had in Scott Street, number
21. It's the next one on the list.
Okay,
You're right in order.
21 Scott Street.
Yeah.
Now,
Great Scott.
I've now auctioned, Gary, I reckon probably close to 10,000 properties. So I reckon I've seen it all.
Never done 10,000.
Well,
you got no
what?
idea. You're such an exaggerator.
Somewhere in excess of 5,000, but not quite 10,000.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, that's almost 10,000 properties. Anyway, I auctioned this property.
How's the maths? Go on.
I thought it was always worth around $900,000.
Yeah.
So I arrived, the vendor's reserve is in that vicinity.
Yeah.
And we start the auction. I call for bids.
Yep.
Mostly no one bids, and I've got to put in a vendor bid to start the auction.
Yep.
So I call for bids, and lo and behold, this young couple standing right in front of me come out of the blocks with a first bid of $850,000.
Yep.
I thought, oh, great, game on.
Going to be a good auction.
If somebody's going to bid right from the start, this is going to be easy. So next bid, it took me a while to get $855. They came back at $857.
Yep.
The other party came back at $860. Boom, all over, done. Couldn't get another bid. So we pass it in at $860.
Lifeless auction.
Lifeless.
Yep.
Pass it in,
Seemingly.
$860. Go to the person that bid the $860. Give them the first right of refusal at buying the property. And they say, nah, I'll give you another $2,000. That's it.
We're now at 862. Phil.
862.
Yep.
So with this buyer, I could see that we weren't going to get very far.
And they didn't want to pay the reserve, in which case we're free to speak with others.
Free to speak with others. Two other people that were there at the auction come forward. They've done nothing.
Yep.
They ran the risk, I've got to tell you, if that 862 person had paid the reserve, the property would have been sold.
Yep.
These two people would have missed out. They emerge after the auction. Don't do this at an auction because you'll lose the property.
Yep.
These other two parties come forward. We end up having an auction after the auction.
Yep.
No transparency, unfortunately. We've got one party upstairs, one party downstairs. We go backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards.
Forwards and backwards.
And we end up selling the property for $1 million.
There you go.
So $138,000 over the final price.
Who would have thought?
So, you know,
real estate, there's surprises every day, Phil. And there's another one coming up.
As a buyer, I've got to tell you, viewers,
Yep.
if a property gets passed into somebody else and you're interested in buying it, you run the risk of them paying the reserve. Now, it didn't happen in that case, but here's some auction advice. If you're interested in a property, don't keep your hands in the pocket. If you're not going to bid for it, at least make sure you put up your hand and get the property passed into you, so you get the first right of refusal at the reserve
And when
price.
agents bid for clients, you know, we understand that's the way to bid. That's why you should get us to do it for you. But let's get back to the script because we are trying to keep this to 10 minutes, Phil. And I want to talk a little bit about one at 219 Alma Road, Phil, because you did that auction. I happened to come down and see you. You did all right.
I've got to tell you, really nice couple we sold this for, a really nice family. So hello to the owners of that apartment and their extended family. Won't use your name on camera, but just in case you're watching. What a great apartment.
It was a beauty.
What a great auction.
Massive courtyard.
We were marketing that in the, I think it was $620,000 to $700,000 price range, give or take.
Yep.
We flew there right from the start, didn't even refer the bid to the vendor.
Didn't get
we
a
were
chance.
on the market and sold for $755,000, which was a great price for
Well
that
done.
apartment.
Congratulations to buyer and seller.
Two-bedroom apartment, great wraparound courtyard, but if it didn't have the courtyard, it was really just a very nice two-bedroom, two-bathroom apartment.
Now, you wouldn't believe it, but sometimes there's properties that sell in excess of $2 million, Phil, for prices that are undisclosed, where buyers only see it on the day. That happened at 12 Maurice Street, and there you go.
Morris Street, not Maurice Street, Gary.
You say Morris, I say Maurice.
You're not French.
Maurice,
You're
Maurice,
not French.
Morris.
Right,
Let's call the whole thing off.
Stop kidding yourself. It's M-O-R-R-I-C-E. That's Morris
It's
Street.
the French end of Corfu, the Paris end of Morris Street, Phil, in which case you say Maurice. Anyway, that property sold to a fellow who just came on the day, and that can happen at auction, ladies and gentlemen. We hear about it, and you would never believe it, but it does happen, and it happened right there. And a great house.
We sold, the viewers might be interested in this, Gary, we sold another property for in excess of $2 million during the week, but very quiet, very undisclosed. And we've sold Sally and Darren, Sally Zelm, Darren Krongold, and myself, together with Daniel Fisher, and ably assisted by Eliza, the prestige specialist in our office, have made a lot of sales in the last couple of months quietly. So if you're a prestige or premier end buyer, you do need to ring Sally or Darren because we are selling a lot of properties off market.
2 Omar Street, Philip, was the last auction of the day. It was at 2:30. You did do that auction as your swan song for the weekend and did a fine job, and it sold for $1,200,000. An interesting real estate story too, because the gentleman who bought it only bought it a year ago and then sold it now, and he paid, I think,
$1,125,000. Bought it before auction, so perhaps paid the full price to get it off the market.
Now, if you want to know what's going on the market, that's the best way to know. What property sold for a year ago to now. All this median doesn't tell you much, I reckon, but that's a real test of the market. So that went up, what, I don't know, 6 or 7%.
Oh, no, it's a 20% increase, Gary.
No, it's not 20%. Oh, 10,000 auctions. I'll tell you what, do we have any credibility left? Phil, Saturday, 12 Alder Street, we're going to be auctioning that one at 11:30 a.m, a magnificent period home, looking forward to that. And then we're moving on to Dandenong Road at 1:30 p.m. In fact, I think you've got the pleasure of doing that auction, Phil. Terrific location, and we are in the afternoon auctioning in Toorak, Phil, hobnobbing it in Toorak. Isn't that lovely over there?
So important, aren't you?
Oh, we'd love it there. And Leo Samuel, no, Jeremy Rosens has got the pleasure of doing that auction. One at 641 Toorak Road. Toorak, tell us about Sunday, Phil.
Sunday, we've got a big Sunday, Gary. We kick off at 10:30 with apartment number 6 at 39 Goulet Street, St Kilda East. We then move on to another great property at 6 Oak Crescent in Caulfield North. That's at 11:30. We then have a property which we're going to come back to and talk about, one at 241A Kooyong Road, Elstonwick. That's at 12:30.
Phil, yes, this property that we're auctioning at 1:30 p.m. in Ash Grove is going to be the first sale of Arlene Joffe, who we welcome to the company. Welcome, Arlene.
Good luck to Arlene.
Yes, your first sale.
We then move on at 1:30 to 201A Bamborough Road, Caulfield South, one of the best 2-storey townhouses money will buy you.
I have the pleasure at 1:30, Phil, of auctioning 11 Fallon Street, Caulfield, a great location, terrific land opportunity or investment perhaps, or a home to improve. If you
and
like.
then back to Scott Street, Gary, at number 34 Scott Street at 2:30. But let's talk, Gary, about where we are at the moment. Apartment number 1 or penthouse number 1 at 241A Kooyong Road, Elstonwick. Even if you're not interested in buying an apartment, you've got to get down and have a look at this apartment.
You have to.
Because it's probably the best apartment I think I've ever seen. And I go and look at apartments from Brighton through to Toorak to South Yarra.
It's really a house. It's a luxury home.
Well,
really,
it's one of two. It's the ground floor apartment, and the level of quality and detail here is extraordinary. It's huge, but it's intimate at the same time. Every conceivable luxury, Gaggenauer appliances throughout, basement car parking, home theatre.
Beautiful
the list here goes on and on. I think that's a wrap for GPTV for today, Gary. It's been an action-packed week. We're right into the thick of the spring selling season now. I'm pumped. I'm excited, I'm double-breasted, and I look forward to seeing you next week.